And good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Friday edition of KCBD Now. I'm your host, Kurt Kaiser. Darryl Holland from the Cactus Theater is alongside. I'll introduce you to Darryl in just a moment. But first, I wanted to tell you about next week and kind of look ahead a little bit, what you can expect. We have a great week up of guests lined up for you. On Monday, Carla Holland will be here. I just checked with Darryl. No relation to Darryl, so we're safe there.
Yeah.
She is with the Texas Tech University Small Business Development Center. Carla will be talking about a small business leadership conference. That's coming up in September, in fact, on September 15th. And then on Tuesday, Michelle Hall and also Devin Mankins, and they'll be discussing the Ignite Hope 5K. The month of September is actually Suicide Prevention Month, and this run is a big part of that. And we'll be talking with Michelle and with Devin just about what the 5K, Ignite Hope 5K is all about. Wednesday, it's Kent Meredith will be here. Kent is with United Supermarkets Arena. I start to say United Spirit Arena every time. It's United Supermarkets Arena. Kent has been the GM for the 27 years that arena has been here. It's hard to imagine it's been here for that long, but we'll be talking with Kent about that. On Thursday, Dr. Lawrence Skuvanek, president of Texas Tech University, will be in the hot seat. It won't be too hot for him. We'll be kind, and we'll get to know Dr. Skuvanek a little bit better, and also just talk about a great year ahead for Texas Tech and the Red Raiders. And then on Friday, we'll end the week with Misty Day. Misty is the owner of a great little shop in Post on the square or on the downtown area there. It's called Eighth Day Customs. You'll learn about Eighth Day Customs, just exactly why it's called that, and exactly what they do. Now, magically, Darryl Holland appears right beside me, and I love that. Darryl, welcome to KCBD Now. We're excited to get you in here, and congratulations. You just passed a milestone, 10 years of ownership of the Cactus Theater.
I tell you what, people, it's hard to believe. It's I've done a lot of shows, over 1,300 shows in that amount of time, met a ton of people, entertained a lot of people, met some heroes. It's crazy where 10 years goes. I mean, in a blink of an eye, when you're in the throes of it, you think, wow, you're just one day at a time. You just growth and learning and getting adjusted, transition, all of those things. And it's been quite a journey, but it's been a blast, and I wouldn't trade a day of it.
Absolutely. It's been a lot of fun. So we're going to discuss a lot about those 10 years. But one of the things that you've done in those 10 years, aside from the shows, you've renovated the Cactus Theater, given it a little different look. And that's been a big part of what you've been able to accomplish, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, for sure. When I stepped in 10 years ago, the love and the shows that had been there and the previous ownership with the Caldwell family and everything, you could just feel, all of the things that had taken place there. And of course, I saw many of those shows and had promoted a few shows there along the way. And that's kind of how the transition kind of happened, is familiarity. But it needed some upgrades. It needed seating. It needed some sound upgrades, some lighting, all of the things that make modern presentations, the whole production side of it work. And so, yeah, it's been a journey, but it's been fun to be part of the evolution with the programming as well. I mean, the programming, and we've mixed a lot of things up, a lot of touring acts, and I really pride myself on variety. And I think that that's the thing that we've done as much as anything, is brought a lot of new angles and things, and I think people have embraced that very well, and they appreciate that.
You don't forget the historical relevance of the Cactus Theater. It's been there a long time. It's been through a lot of different things. In fact, at one time, it was a movie theater.
Well, sure. That's how it started. From 1938 to 58, it had a solid 2-decade run strictly as a movie house. And there are a lot of folks that come through our doors, and I ask the audience every now and then, hey, raise your hand if you were here seeing movies in the 50s. And some people raise it, hey, I was here in 69 or 70, or I saw, a Dracula movie. And I said, well, I don't think that happened because it closed in 58. You might have been around the corner or down, at the Lindsay down on Broadway or at the State Theater. A lot of people get the State and the Cactus mixed up because they're, south of Broadway and around the corner from each other. And of course, the State's long gone as well. But it's just an incredible run that we've had, and it's been just an enriching experience for myself, my family, hopefully the patrons, and and our concession crew's been there through
Yeah.
this whole thing. We got the stability of that. Our house band, of course, the faces and names change a little bit. Things evolve, but we're still doing in-house productions as well as the things that we bring, from off the road, so to speak. And so all of that goes into making it work. You're evolving, you're growing, you're experimenting. And so, yeah, it's been one big happy, a ride of
Yeah.
a lifetime, really.
Now we're getting ready for September, getting ready for this coming weekend. Let's talk first about the days ahead. Let's look at the days ahead and the end of September. A preview of what you have coming up.
Oh, yeah. Well, we've got this evening, we've got Bob Will's Texas Playboys. I mean, you can't
Very
get more,
popular.
Can't get more traditional than that.
Yeah.
And so we'll have fun with that. Almost a sold out house tonight. Then to Saturday night, we're having the Sounds of West Texas again.
Right.
I've done that for 10 years, 3 to 4 shows a year with that group. Betty Smith does a great job producing that. And of course, you MC
I'll be
so
there.
so
Yeah.
many of those shows. And so that's, and that's a fundraiser for the South Plains Otter Fly.
Right.
Texas South Plains Otter Fly. And, then we get into September. Hard to believe, but we've got a tribute to Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young. It's a group called Laurel Canyon. And so they're going to do a lot of that great stuff from the late 60s and 70s. And, just on from there, just more and more shows. We've got 2 Tons of Steel coming in on the 11th to do an all Buddy Holly
Really?
tribute.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
So, we're still keeping those traditions alive and keeping the momentum and doing things maybe in a little bit different way, or just kind of give it a new wrinkle, and so that's what's fun.
I doubt you really even know what day or what month it is, because you're always working ahead, Darryl. You're always planning ahead.
Yeah.
You're looking into Christmas. You're looking into next year already.
Oh, yeah.
And some of the acts you have to book early or you're not going to get them.
Oh, yeah.
So that has to be one of the funnest parts, booking acts, but at the same time, one of the most frustrating things, isn't it?
Well, it is, and you always have to be looking ahead. There's a window there where you have to book a show, promote the show, and you're dealing with acts that are in the business called, the routing of it, because they're trying to connect the dots of the different cities. How do they get from, like yesterday, got a call, I want to reveal it, but I got to hold it back. It's going to be next spring. But
It's a good one.
yeah, oh yeah,
Okay.
oh yeah. Never played the Cactus before,
Okay.
but people will love it. It's a household name.
Yeah.
Legendary actor, musician. People like to see those guys.
Yeah.
And so the idea, the conversation got started. Okay, so we've got to get from Florida to Australia,
Oh, wow.
a place you know well.
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
And how are we going to do that? I said, well, I'm not sure about the Australia part. You'll have to, figure that out. But I know that we could fit in that southern route, and then they wanted to finish in Denver and then fly from there to Australia.
Okay.
So how do you, make that happen? And so I gave some ideas for other routing partners, people that we work with along the way and have developed relationships, friendships with, to help that agent make those connections. So, it's just one of those things where it's about planning. When the show happens, when the lights go down, that's when the magic happens, and you're in that moment for that show. But people have no idea. The people that are sitting in the audience have no idea how that journey developed.
They don't.
And so, it takes months and months and sometimes just weeks and sometimes seems like just days to make things fall in place. But that's what's fun, is I get to look ahead and on my big wall calendar, fill in those little squares. And so I know 6 and 8 months and sometimes a year in advance what's coming. And, we don't let everybody know about that, but it's brewing in the background. It's working.
Yeah.
It's developing.
One of the fun things that you do is having tribute shows, and I know we just recently lost Dolly Parton, and
Yeah.
you were telling me right before we started here,
Yeah.
your wheels are turning already
Yeah.
to how you would do that and have a tribute to Dolly, right?
Yeah, well, and that's there's a balancing act there, because you want to be respectful, and you don't want to you don't want it to appear that you are trying to capitalize on someone's passing.
Sure.
At the same time, wow, I mean, there's only there's only one Dolly. There was only
right.
one Elvis. There's
Only will be $1. Yeah,
Yeah.
nobody else like her.
And so you have to, in my thought process, you have to find a happy medium of respect. Of course, putting the show together. With the Dolly show, we got to have a lot of female singers.
Sure.
There's just not many icons like that, and especially female. And so, how do you go about finding the right voices, the right timing, and bring it all together? Because people have their own schedules, and so that's what I'm working on right now. Is how do we tribute someone of that stature?
On this show, on KCBD Now, brand new show, Darryl, and I'm telling people we're going to introduce you to people you know, but we're also going to introduce you to people that you don't know.
Oh, yeah.
In your business, you do the same thing. You've had some big names come through here. You've had some medium names. You might have heard of them. You've also had some that nobody knows about, but they're on their way up, and you're going to take advantage of that. So it's a balancing act, isn't it?
Oh yeah, well, and that's what's fun is introducing something new, even if it's a household name or something from the past that maybe has kind of eluded publicity, or they maybe retired or come back, or what have you. And so we kind of laugh sometimes. We say we got to catch them on the way up or the way down.
Yeah.
Simply because we have 383-ish. A little bit of flex there, 4 or 5 seats. We can add or subtract, but with some movable chairs. But that's the thing, is we have to strike that balance of familiarity versus introducing something new. And a lot of people like to try things that are new. Other people are like, well, I don't know if I want to
not
go
too sure.
buy a ticket, walk in to get introduced to somebody.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a little balance there. But I think that I know that a lot of our audience, we see this week in and week out. When we open the doors, they're there. That's their home, and we just are thrilled by that. So that tells you you're doing something right, that they'll take a chance on something new or different, or they want to come back and see an old favorite that maybe played there 5 years before, 10 years, maybe just never played there, but they know them. And so that's what's fun about it, is striking that balance. And again, still utilizing our homegrown talent. Our house band, Vibe LBK, we can put together just about any show that you can think of. I laugh and I tell people sometimes, I say, these guys can do, and I've said this for a long time, and now with Dolly's passing, it's kind of really hits closer to home. But I've joked before, introducing people on stage, introducing our audience to what's coming. I say, hey, y'all need to come see this house band. If you haven't seen them in a while, they can do Dolly Parton one night and AC/DC the next.
That's exactly right.
I mean, what kind of a band can do that? They're so versatile.
It takes a special group to do that. And Darryl, we are blessed. I say this many times when I'm at the Cactus. We are blessed to have such fine musicians and fine talent here in Lubbock, Texas.
Oh yeah. Well, it's been a tradition for years. Thank goodness for that. Thank goodness for just that history that we can build upon. And I mean, there's new faces all the time, as you've seen through the years. You have that evolution of the band, the new talent coming up, and or someone moves to town and all of a sudden they fall into the music scene, and that's happened many, many times through the years. And that's the thing about our current incarnation of the house band, is that it's evolving. We're discovering new talent. Just 2 months ago, one of the guys said, we were planning shows. He said, well, did you know my wife could do that? Or let me introduce you. Here's a little clip. And all of a sudden, here's this other dimension that you
didn't know about.
Didn't know about.
Yeah.
And so that's fun to discover that and nurture it and give it a stage, give it an audience, and watch it just like a little flower start to bloom.
There's a show coming up that I wanted to talk about. It's one that KCBD and Fox 34 are collaborating on, called The Songwriters Set. Yes. And it's actually the second year for it. Last year we had a different name for it.
Right, yep.
But this is a fun thing, because we also have not only a number of great musicians and performers, great songwriters, and this highlights that. And it's just a wonderful night. If you haven't heard about the songwriters set, you need to be here because this year we're actually selling tickets to the public
Yes.
for this. So tell us what the songwriter set's all about.
I'm so glad you brought that up. That's kind of setting the table for what's beyond just, this week, next week, what have you. The songwriter set, as the name implies, is about the songwriter. And that's the thing that a lot of people miss. They know it, but they don't think about it. Everything starts with a song. If you don't have the song, you don't have a show, and you've got to build, upon that and have several kinds of songs or through the career, you highlight different things. But it's done through the story, through the song, and then the band, of course, fleshes that out. So this songwriter set is a tribute to the creators, the people behind the scenes that are, making the music. And sometimes it's the artist that you hear sing it. Sometimes it developed from a group of songwriters, co-writers, or maybe it's an old song from, years past that's been redone again. A new take on it, a cover of that. But with this particular show, it's just fantastic because you're showcasing the local talent that builds this music and creates the music. And then we also have a guest artist, a Texas legend, in this case, Brady Seals, who a lot of people will know as a co-founder of Little Texas, God Bless Texas, and
Great groups.
My Love, and all these different songs.
Yeah.
Amy's Back in Austin, all that. But Brady Seals is connected to Dan Seals, of course, England Dan, and of course the country career with Bop and Addicted and all those songs that Dan Seals had, and Troy Seals, another great songwriter, and Jim Seals from Seals and Crofts.
Right.
So Brady Seals is part of that Texas. He's part of the legacy of that. So we try to, with this particular show, bring in a familiar name that has done things, maybe in a national or regional scale, in addition to our local talent. And so that's what's beautiful about this is we showcase 6 or 7, 8, I've forgotten the count now, but it's somewhere around there, local creators, and then have a little space in there for this bigger, well-known name. I say bigger name, just more
Sure.
well-known. And then to see those blend and highlight those and then have a big jam at the end. That's
With
what's
everybody on stage.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so that's what's fun. You see this melting pot. And so the songwriter set is a special show, and I'm so glad to partner with the station on that and to present it. Like you said, last year, only sponsors could come, but we've
Yeah.
opened it up this year to sponsors and the public. So about a 50-50 mix. And I just really look forward to the show. It was a magical event last year, and I know it will be this year.
So songwriter set is coming up in September.
Yes, the 19th. I
19th
believe.
of
No,
September.
no, I'm sorry, the 17th.
17th,
The songwriter
okay,
set.
okay.
And then Tech plays that unusual Friday night show. And
Right.
then the next night is our tribute to Dan Fogelberg.
Oh, good. Okay.
And so, all, again, local talent. Junior Vasquez will be joining the band for an extended set as a guest. And, of course, he's no stranger to the stage.
Right.
But he'll help anchor that show. So,
Yeah.
just all kinds of fun things.
We had Junior on last week, and of
course.
and he's one that we got to know a little bit, and what a great talent. I mean, Junior's been involved in music for 5 decades, as you know, and there's a lot of those which are great. I think of the Maines brothers,
Yes.
Kenny Maines,
Oh,
and all the other Maines brothers, fantastic as well. So it's fun with all these different names and all these different groups that you have, and you have a plethora. I love to use that
Yes.
word, Darryl.
Good name.
You have a plethora of talent to choose from around here.
Oh, yeah. And that's what's fun is, like I say, when we're crafting a show, producing something in-house, you start with that nucleus of the house band, who's available, and it's kind of like almost like a baseball team. How deep is
Build
that
your roster.
Yeah. This guy's not available. This girl's not available on vocals. Well, who do we bring in, or do we just assign a few more songs to these 3 that are available? Can they handle it? Can they? They got to learn the songs.
Sure.
That type of deal. So, I think that's that's what fuels my fire, is that it's just the creativity, the concept, coming up with a concept. What would they like to see? What have we not done in a while? Or what was an old favorite we could bring back? because people love nostalgia, and that's what really I can say that that's so much of what the Cactus is built upon. The nostalgia of bringing those legends into town that nobody else would bring. What other stage would they play on? And so you've got that mix of the familiar with, like you say, the new, the up and coming, or crafting something. Like we did a Route 66 100-year birthday show.
Oh, yeah.
Earlier in the year, tribute to Willie. These are things that have never been done there, and I think that's the thing that really gets me going is, hey, what can we do? I'm waking up. What can we do? I laid awake last night, just thinking about again this Dolly tribute. When's the right time? Who do you get on there? And then, of course, the songs start flowing. Okay, you got to do 9 to 5, Jolene, da 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 da. Let's do some deep cuts. Let's do something from her bluegrass, catalog, from her early songwriting career before maybe she was so well known. Some little gems. And so that's the thing is, it's just every show and every day, every week is new and different, and yet you need some familiarity too.
Sure. We were talking about songwriting, and you mentioned people don't always realize who wrote particular songs. And I know that because Dolly passed away, we're hearing all kinds of stories. But one of the favorite ones that I've heard in the last few days, we can't get enough of Dolly stories, but she wrote I Will Always Love You.
Oh, yeah.
Which is a classic, which was originally written to Porter Wagner.
Yep.
And then Whitney Houston did it and made it even more popular. And someone asked Dolly one time, are you upset that Whitney took your song and it was better than you?
Yeah.
And Dolly took them over to a drawer, opened it up, pulled out a check for $1 million, which was her first royalty check for that. I said her first, so she got a lot more.
Yeah.
And she says, no, I'm not upset. No. But I also heard her talk about the first time she heard it on the radio. She had given Whitney permission to use the song, and she heard it on the radio. She said she had to pull over because she was crying, because she said, Whitney did it better than I did.
Well, that's the great thing about, again, this business is that creativity and the genesis of it, and then where it goes from there. And these songwriters especially, sometimes they never are known by the public. They're kind of, you have a whole slew of folks that are just over in a dark corner or in a little room, and they're creating this magic through lyrics, through imagination and rhyme scheme, and what rhymes with orange?
Yeah, that's a tough one right there.
That's the question we've all been.
Purple.
Orange. You glad you're here? Whatever. And so that's the thing about these songwriters is the crafting of the content that then fuels our lives. That fills that radio space. And I've heard her tell that story. And she was driving down the road and she heard words that were familiar, but done in a different way. That song kind of starts kind of a cappella and kind of this slow build. Well, it wasn't the way she did it, but
But it worked.
Oh, yeah.
It worked in a big way.
Yeah.
Darryl, you talked about looking for future acts and your mind constantly going. I'm sure you get feedback from people saying, hey, I wish we could get this person. And sometimes you get a name that you hadn't thought of, and somebody piques your interest, don't they?
Oh, yeah, that happens all the time. I'll be walking down the aisle before the show, and, of course, I like to mingle with people and just not be totally behind the scenes, and you're here for the show, and I'm kind of behind it and everything, but I like to be in it and interact with people and exchange ideas and listen to them, when they kind of tug your shirt and say, hey, have you thought about this person? Or, hey, I just heard this person, or look at this video. I want you to see this.
Yeah.
I just discovered this person and they're going to be the next big thing, book them before they get big or whatever. And so that's always fun. And I do the best that I can.
Sure.
We can't do everything, but somebody like in our classic film series, which is fixing to kick off, I shouldn't mention that.
Yeah.
Starting off with Oh Brother, Where Art Thou, which of course was a big,
good.
Music movie. And of course, that blends in with our theme of doing music and cinema and comedy, whatever. But anyway, somebody kind of tugged on my sleeve in the spring and said, have you thought about showing Twister? And I thought, well, I hadn't thought about it. And then you start putting it together and it's like, oh, this is the 30th anniversary of that. It came out in 96. So, yeah,
There you
it's
go.
a milestone year.
Yeah.
Certainly Lubbock, with our history of the Lubbock tornado, people are, very familiar with Twisters, and that was a big movie. And like I say, when it hits a certain milestone or something, it kind of becomes nostalgic again. So we put Twister in the fall series
Okay.
simply because somebody has suggested that. And I thought, yeah, that's a neat idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So so many good ideas. We'll talk more about the classic films because I think that's a big part of what you do. We're going to take a break right now. Talking with Darryl Holland today. Darryl is the owner of the Cactus Theater, a huge part of the Lubbock landscape for the last several years. And Darryl just recently celebrated on July the 1st 10 years of ownership of the Cactus Theater. So we're previewing some things that are coming up at the Cactus and just talking about the Cactus Theater in general. If you haven't been there in a while, you need to go. And we'd like to see you at the Cactus Theater. We'd also like to see you at the other side of our break. We're listening to KCBD Now on a Friday with Darryl Holland from the Cactus Theater. Back with more in just a moment.